I'm a little bit confused with what Apple is going to be doing with the Apple Watch lineup this year, between the Series 4 and the Series 5 and the rumored features for the Series 6. What watches are sticking around, what watches aren't sticking around, and at the end of the day, I just hope they put some more thought into it than I put into my hair today. Let's begin. So last year, I even threw around the idea of Apple just not releasing a new watch every year because I feel like Apple Watches peaked way too early and they quickly ran out of things for them to do. So these days, I feel like they should just primarily focus on making them more affordable and, bringing those health features to more people. So the rumored features for the Series 6, just to remind everybody, are a longer battery life, which we don't know if it means slightly longer or a week long or, just battery life improvements to some extent. A S6 chip, which is like, yay. Sleep tracking support, which I'm unsure why that's a hardware feature and not a watchOS feature. Blood pressure monitoring, which is a good health feature. I'm glad they're adding that hopefully this year. A pulse oximeter and a mental health abnormalities detection feature, which I'm confused by because I agree with what other YouTubers have said. If you have anxiety or mental health problems and your watch starts telling you that it's detecting you have mental health problems, wouldn't that just increase the anxiety? Wouldn't that just make everything worse? So yeah, it doesn't sound like it's a major year. I don't think this is going to be a big design change. It's probably going to look incredibly similar to what we already have. So knowing Apple's logic of what watches they keep around or not, if this is all the Series 6 can do, they're probably not going to keep around the Series 5. They're going to discontinue that and just make the Series 6 the new default. That's just the go-to watch for everybody. And I highly doubt they would revive the Series 4 for, the cheaper, more entry-level price Apple Watch, because typically whenever Apple discontinues something, they don't bring it back. And also, if the Series 4 did come back at a new lower starting price, then everyone would just go for that instead of the Series 6 because it looks so dang similar. So that's why it makes sense, at least right now, that they still have the Apple Watch Series 3, because that thing is decent, but it does look noticeably dated compared to the Series 6. So it's kind of the compromise if you cheap out on your Apple Watch. It's like, yeah, you can get one for cheaper, but you're just not going to get as many cool features and you don't get the cool display. So is Apple just going to keep selling the Series 3 once the Series 6 comes out and leave it at that current entry-level price point? Well, a tweet went out recently from Apple Rumors on Twitter, which is a very, very new Twitter leaker, and a lot of their leaks don't even sound that believable, so it's way too early in the game to consider them credible or not. But either way, they made this tweet, which may or may not be real, but it got me thinking about what would make the most amount of sense for the Apple Watch lineup this year. And they pitched kind of the idea of an Apple Watch SE of sorts, basically updating the internals of some of the more dated Apple Watch designs. So basically taking the Series 3 design, but bringing it some of the Series 4 benefits. So if you feel like this is out of the ordinary, it actually isn't. It would be somewhat similar to what Apple did with the Apple Watch Series 1, which actually launched at the same time as the Apple Watch Series 2. And it was technically different from the original Apple Watch Series 0, as we call it, even though, that's not the official name for it. Back then they called it the Apple Watch Sport, and there was Apple Watch Edition. But there was a difference between the Sport and the Series 1. Even though from the outside they did look the same, they updated a lot of the internals. So I'm thinking with the Apple Watch SE, which again, barely even a leak at this point, it's more of a concept video, but it would do a few basic things that Apple could benefit people who are spending only $200 on an Apple Watch and provide them with things like the S5 chip. So you have an updated CPU and GPU, which means that these Apple Watches can continue to get software updates for years to come, because it's rumored that watchOS 7 is not even going to support the Series 2. So if that ends up being the case and the Apple Watch Series 3 is still rocking that S3 chip, then it's kind of crazy that Apple would be selling a watch for $200 right now and then be discontinuing watchOS support on it within a couple years. So updating the CPU on that thing makes sense to me. So just to be clear, this leaker said it would have an S5 chip as well as a W3 pairing chip, so improved wireless connectivity, just 16 gigs of storage, which is honestly fine because you don't really load that much data onto your watch anyway. Of course, it would only be an aluminum design as expected. This would look just like the Series 3, but it would also get kind of a revived haptic engine, which I like the idea of because I really enjoy the haptic feedback I get when scrolling with the digital crown on the Series 4. So if they brought that to the Series 3, it's just an internal update, but it would be appreciated, along with the falling detection feature, which I think has been incredibly helpful and it has helped save lives for a ton of people. So bringing that into a more affordable entry-level Apple Watch, thanks to some updated accelerometer or gyroscope hardware on the inside, I think would be very much appreciated, and it could probably tug on some people's heartstrings things. It's like, hey, here's some stories of people that lives were saved thanks to the Apple Watch, so we're bringing that to the more affordable model. You know, I think it would hurt the sales of the Series 6 way too much if they just kept around the Series 4 or 5, so making the dated Apple Watch like the Series 3, but with updated internals so that it has a fast CPU and GPU, better wireless connectivity, a few extra features like the fall detection and the updated haptic engine, that would allow the Series 3 to remain up to date, but still noticeably worse looking than the Series 6, which will launch with a couple of nifty health features, a better battery life, sleep tracking, but at the end of the day, not a great reason for people with the Series 4 or 5 to really upgrade. This sounds like something Apple would do, which is why I'm talking about it. I'm not just intentionally trying to promote unproven leakers at this point. I just read that this morning and thought, you know what? That actually makes the most amount of sense, because if they keep around the Series 3, it can't be getting that many more years of software updates. And I know some of you are just saying, why not make a cheaper version of the Series 4 so that you can still get ECG, you can still have the nice display, but it will just be made of plastic or something, which I remind you, when there's updated designs or new materials that have to be implemented, that requires money to install those assembly lines and reteach the employees. And basically, Apple has proven in the past that when they want to make cheaper models of something, it's easiest if you just take your old flagship design, because you already have the assembly lines for that, and slightly retrofit the internals. So applying that logic to the Apple Watch Series 3, and I don't know what they would call this one. That's the only issue. You couldn't really call it the Series 4, and you couldn't really call it the 3, so maybe call it the 3.5 or something, or maybe Apple Watch SE is fine. You know, they did it on the iPhone this year, so why not bring it to the Apple Watch? I know it kind of kills the very consistent numbering for the Apple Watch lineup we've had so far, but yeah, I don't know what to really brand this thing. I know Apple doesn't really like using the Lite terminology, but maybe Apple Watch Lite would make a lot of sense, or maybe they're going to start ditching numbers entirely and just go to Apple Watch 2020 edition, which I don't hope they do that. But anyway, let me know what you guys think of this SE idea, or what they should do with the Apple Watch lineup by hitting me up over on Twitter. Join my Discord. We can bicker more endlessly about it there. This is your Apple Sheep here, and my bed did this to my hair. I have no clue how to make it go down. I tried. I'll see you in the next one.